Quartzite is the raw material from which chips are made. First break it up and grind it, and put into a high-temperature furnace to purify. It is refined into monocrystalline silicon with a purity of 99.99. The rolls are then cut into 300 mm diameter silicon wafers. The thickness is 0.75 mm. The back is sprayed with a production barcode. And make a small notch. Let the device recognize its direction. Silicon wafers are very fragile. It breaks easily when bumped. A silicon wafer costs about $100. But when you make it into a CPU, it can be worth up to $100,000. That works out to be 10 times more expensive than gold. Silicon chips coming off the assembly line. Perfection is not guaranteed. Each lattice is subjected to rigorous testing. We tested a defective chip. There is often only a difference in performance. Therefore, the inspection procedure will mark the defective amount. And then according to the amount rate of each amount, categorize it. Intel does it this way. The i9, i7, i5, and i3 processors are divided. And the damage point inside the processor. More and more as the price goes down. This is the CPU of a desktop computer. We used to talk about chips. It's the integrated circuit inside. It has 24 computing cores. A memory controller. A GPU graphics card. Once the chip has enlarged the core, inside are partitions for different functions. If you zoom in on one of these partitions, we can see the layout of 44,000 transistors. So many transistors. The number of transistors is only 0.17% of the total number of transistors. We magnified the chip to 100,000 times. You can see dense layers of metal wires. Underwire. It's the transistor responsible for basic logic operations. The transistor is covered with insulators and metal wires. The lines of a single chip add up to hundreds of kilometers long. There are 5 layers on each side of the transistor. Metal wires are then connected up and down through metal holes. A CPU chip is in this form. It's built on top of each other. Materials for making chips. It's a 300 mm diameter silicon wafer. This silicon wafer can make 230 CPU chips. Memory chips are much smaller. One of these silicon wafers. It can make more than 900 memory chips. 25 silicon wafers are removed before production, in a pile. And then put it in a box with a sensor. The box is passed through the tracks at the top. Transport to various equipment. The wafer system follows specific steps. Send the box to the appropriate device. They all have special robotic arms on them. It will follow the system's instructions. Take the platter to the work table for processing. After unloading the goods, the box continues into orbit. Get to the next piece of equipment. Entire manufacturing process. It's distributed by thousands of these boxes. The silicon wafer is coated with photoresist. Is the first step in chip manufacturing. After applying the photoresist, put it on a baking sheet. Heat the baking pan to evaporate any impurities from the glue. It is then fed into the table of the lithography machine. Top of table. It's ultraviolet light and a patterned eye mask. Light passes through the pattern on the eye mask. Then focus through the lens. Project the pattern onto the silicon wafer. The silicon wafer is then placed in a developing container. It removes the UV light from the photoresist. All that's left is the circuit diagram on the eye mask. The engraving of the circuit diagram is done on the lithography machine. Lithography is the most important tool in chip manufacturing. At the bottom is a UV light lens. Above is a set of lenses used to focus light. At the top is an eye mask plate containing a circuit diagram. It's the equivalent of developing a negative of a photograph. Bottom. It is a track bracket for carving a silicon disc. Light is refracted several times to reach the eye membrane. After more refraction, focus the pattern to 1/4 size. Project onto the photoresist. This process. The two most important steps are lithography and etching. The eye template is a 6-inch square, just enough to fit in 2 CPU circuit diagrams. Lithography is the equivalent of copy and paste. Write the drawing on the platter. Could be in a few minutes. Billions of transistors are written 230 times. The circuit diagram of each layer of the chip is different. An 80-level CPU chip. Light eye mask using 80 different drawings. Each light mask costs $300,000. To increase productivity, the manufacturing of the chip will turn on at least 400 more devices. Work simultaneously. It typically produces 50,000 silicon wafers per month. Or produce more than 10 million chips. But even so, still in short supply.